Well, hello and welcome to the Profit Express. I'm Tim Healy, and I'm inviting you to join me each and every Wednesday so you can be prepared to win the battle for business. That's right. Now listen, I know you're out there. You're closing deals. You're making money. You're turning prospects into profits. So I got to make it worth your while. That's why I have on the kinds of guests that you can listen, learn, and earn from. Today's guest is no exception. So as always, thanks for sharing some of your time with me today. Thanks for jumping on board the Profit Express. And as always, a special thanks to our supporters, in particular Corbett Public Relations, where they've been promoting and protecting businesses and brands for over 30 years. So please visit Bill and his team at CorbettPR.com. That's CORBETTPR.com. So welcome aboard, everybody. Now, if you know me, if you're a fan of the show, you've been following me, you know that two of my passions in life, one is coffee, and the other, of course, is winning the battle for business. And that's why today's guest absolutely hits it out of the park. He's Eun Cho. He is one of the founders of Haymaker Coffee. And even though they've been around since just 2021, they're already in 40 stores in New York City, and they're also in restaurants and stores in Florida, in the Jacksonville, Florida area. Now, what makes Eun's story a particularly interesting one is he is first-generation immigrant to the United States. His family came to the U.S. from South Korea. And as the founder of Haymaker Coffee, they've built the company and the principles really off of who their parents were. Their parents were the kinds of people who had dreams, pursued their dreams, didn't give up on their dreams. And they were the kinds of people who made hay all day, every day. And it's funny, I actually came across and I originally found out about Haymaker Coffee on Instagram. I love the page they had. I love the story. Their message is fantastic. So I reached out to Eun. Again, he's one of the founders. And I said, hey, you got to come on the show. So he agreed to come on the show. And I said, well, hey, I knew myself as a passionate lover of coffee. I had to try out the coffee before I had him on. So I went out and I got a couple of boxes of Haymaker, and I happened to like the bold and the dark roast. So I got the Haymaker dark roast right here. Now, as you can see with my beautiful collection of Profit Express coffee mugs, I figured, you know what? I'm going to I'm going old school with my thermos here, right? And I'm going to have some Haymaker in my mug with my interview with Eun Cho, who'll be on in just a second. So this, to me, this is so much of what the Profit Express is about. It's about winning the battle for business. It's about the American dream, pursuing the American dream, and great, delicious coffee, which I give you my thumbs up on this one, as a dark roast is delicious. So that being said, it's a pleasure to welcome aboard Eun Cho, one of the founders of Haymaker Coffee, to the Profit Express. Eun, how are you today?
Great, Tim. Thanks for having me here today.
Oh, listen, it's my pleasure. As I said, I originally came across you guys on Instagram. I think it was just the great-looking logo, Haymaker, okay? The bull with the boxing gloves. Or is that that's a boar, right? With boxing gloves?
It's a boar.
It is a boar,
That's
right?
Correct.
And I did a little research on your website, kind of finding your About Us, and that's when I originally reached out to you. So, where to begin? To me, what I'd like to start off with is you and your founders, your partners, your fellow founders, decided to get into the coffee business. Now, what's interesting to me about the coffee business is coffee, as you're very well aware, is one of the most traded commodities in the world. It's one of the oldest commodities in the world. And if my stats are right, there are over 2 billion cups of coffee consumed each day around the globe. So, pretty competitive marketplace, if you will. Why did you and your partners decide to get into the coffee business?
Great question. And sometimes when I have difficult times with running this business, I ask myself that. Look, you're right. The stats you provided are correct. It's a $46 billion a year industry. in the U.S. It's very competitive. It's dominated by top 10, 20 guys in the U.S.
Hmm.
But, we felt like there was a gap in the marketplace, particularly in how the brand speaks to the consumers. We felt that the top 10 brands have become very politicized in terms of how they position themselves. Either you're
Hmm.
very left or you're very right. So what we wanted to do is, hey, we wanted to create a coffee company that speaks to the people that are in the center, that says, hey, don't give me any of the BS about where you're leaning towards, left or right, but just give me a great cup of coffee, and that's something that I can, a brand I could kind of lean into. So, we created a brand. It's a brand with a boar with some gloves, but it's the pursuit of the American dream. And so, what we are doing right now is to uh, try to be the brand ambassadors by doing all the right things, helping the community, being involved with the community, and try to add value in a way that is meaningful and impactful.
Well, it's funny how you and your partners found a niche as far as not really politicizing, just kind of being straight down the middle, if you were. And it's funny because so many big brands are going, either far left or far right. When, at least from my perspective, as the host of the Profit Express, I just want to talk about business. I just want to talk about the product or service. So it's kind of refreshing that you guys are taking that approach. So now let's get back to the fact that you're first generation immigrant. Your family came from South Korea. What does the pursuit of the American dream mean to you specifically as one of the founders?
It has a that has a profound meaning to me because I see the world as an opportunity for people to pursue their interests, people to pursue happiness, and people to pursue wealth. When my parents left Korea, and it was a tough, difficult decision for them because they didn't have many family members here, nor any friends here.
Sure.
But we left Korea when Korea was in a bad situation for them to try to provide the best opportunity for their kids. So we left Korea with barely any money in our pockets, didn't speak the language, and they immigrated just to see, just to provide an opportunity for us. And with all the hard work and all of the trials and tribulations they went through, it instilled tremendous value, tremendous hard working ethic, grit to just kind of pursue the things I want to have in my life, which
Mhm.
is being happy with what I'm doing, be surrounded by people who I want to be surrounded by with, and just pursue any opportunity that where I feel that if I just work my butt off, I can achieve.
So, as you go through, listen, there's lots of risk in any new business ventures, as you and your partners know. Given the sacrifice your parents made, is that does their sacrifice is that something you think about? I don't know if you think about it every day, but like, is it something like, hey, I owe something to them, and I want to do everything I can to succeed and to make Haymaker a great success? Is that part of your thought process?
Uh, It is. One good thing about moving back to Jacksonville from New York City is that I didn't get to see my parents often, but now being here, I see my parents on a weekly basis, and it just reminds me of all the sacrifices they made. And as any child to their parents, one of the goals in a child's life is to make their parents proud.
Mm-hmm.
And every day I see them in the sacrifices that they made, and I just remember these little things that they did for me and my brother in the past. Just kind of just gives me the extra motivation to work hard and to go out and achieve my dreams. I have two little kids, a 4-year old and a 1-year old, who's probably looking at me the same way too. And I want to do my best to have that kind of impact that my parents had on me in terms of just working hard and trying to go after what is worthy for me or what I feel value in my life. So yeah, it's an inspiration every day, and I, it's also my part to kind of, the legacy that my parents are kind of set forth for us. to kind of go out there and do the same thing for my kids.
Well, there's so many stories. I'm sure you're aware of them of immigrants who came to this country and did some amazing things with the opportunity that America affords them. So, to have somebody like you on the show sharing a story of what you're doing, and now one of your partners is your brother. You said, correct?
Yep,
Okay.
My brother. Yeah, it's 2 years younger than me. He just recently left to go to Harvard. He's spending a year there to pursue his master's.
Wow.
So he's there right now, and also helping out the coffee company and his company that he also owns. And then my other partner is my friend from middle school.
Wow. You guys are hustlers. I love this.
Yeah, Tim. We're hustling. I mean, people like you're hustling too. And I know that this story that we're talking about right now is not unique to us. There are people watching your show that says, I identify with Eun. I identify with his partners who are hustling every day. And I think, Tim, you and I had this discussion before. This is not my full-time job. I have a full-time job where I spend 50, 60 hours a week trying to grow the other business. And I'm doing this early in the morning, late at night, on the weekends to make this work. So, it's been a challenge.
It's been a challenge. But what's funny? It's obviously the passion. There's a love for it. I can sense it. It's important for people to realize that. Everybody sees these great success stories, and I'm sure you guys are going to have a great success story, 3, 4, 5 years from now when the company explodes. But so often we miss the details of, like you said, hey, you know what? I'm doing this in addition to other efforts. I'm doing this nights, weekends, mornings. It's a labor of love. That's important for people to hear because it takes incredible sacrifice. As the saying goes, I chose, not to do a 9-to-5 job for 40 hours a week, but own my own business so I could work 80 hours a week for myself. It's that kind of a sacrifice.
Yeah. So, Tim, what I think is kind of a miss in when people look at things in social media, LinkedIn and so on. I do this as well. We only put things online, what the success stories or the wins that we have, right? But people don't see that I woke up 3 a.m. This past weekend to provide coffee for the 5K race for 1,000, 2,000 people that ran this particular race. They didn't see me to take the stuff out of the trailer to put it back to where I brought things out for the event. They don't see me spending 2 hours cleaning all the coffee pots and all the equipment you use to make the coffee. I mean, these are things that, I think it's on us entrepreneurs to kind of share these stories, to tell them, hey, this road down being an entrepreneur and being a successful business story, it's not easy. And if you don't have the ability or to kind of deal with all of the challenges that are coming along the way, maybe it's not the right time or maybe it's not the right path for you. But it is a lot of work. It is a lot of challenges, and you have to have that passion. And whatever is striving the why that you want to be in this business, it has to be really strong, because there are going to be times when you look at yourself in the mirror and say, damn, this is so fucking hard. And I don't know if I'm going to do this. Yeah. So, those are the things that entrepreneurs go through on a daily basis. So you have to understand your why and have that passion to go through it.
Well, that was perfectly said, because again, so often, and you made a very important distinction. We can look at Instagram and all businesses, myself included. We always try to put our best foot forward. But we don't always see, like you said, working weekends, waking up at 3 a.m. as to the reality of owning our own business. Now, I want to read this to make sure I got it right. So I was doing some research and kind of got some of your content from your website and the About Us. And it says, Haymaker Coffee identifies as being a relentless spirit, working hard for your dreams and never giving up. That's part of what I resonated with and why I reached out to you guys.
Yeah.
So then because again, it's very important for any business to be able to really identify the profile of their ideal client, or their ideal customer. So how would you describe the profile of the Haymaker customer? Who makes a great customer for Haymaker?
Great question. And I think the customers is evolving. Initially, when we started the business, we thought it was going to be the people who, you know, kind of view the country in a certain way. Maybe, they're centered in terms of the way they see politics. Maybe it's the middle class. Maybe it's the people who really doesn't want to talk about things that are not important in their lives. We're still in that discovery period.
Mm-hmm.
What I think, what's been resonating with the people that really like the brand is just the fact that, hey, these guys, as they're growing their business, they're adding value to the community. So, one thing we realized with some of the companies here, they've been really successful in what they've done, but they've added no value to the community. They're not putting money back into enriching people's lives here. And when we're doing that, I'm seeing traction in that. And I don't, I can't really define who that customer base is, but I think there is something in terms of people want to resonate. People want to belong to a brand that adds back to the community. So, if that's a way to kind of define the customer base right now, I think that's probably the way to describe it. But yeah, I think it's, since we're so early into the business itself, it's been really a bit of a challenge to say who's actually our customer base.
So it's certainly something that's evolving, like you said, because again, you established in 2021, so you guys will learn and grow and adapt. Now it's funny. And
yeah,
again,
I mean, Tim, the really interesting point about that was that, initially we came out and wanted to kind of appeal to the more of like, maybe the UFC crowd, maybe the people who go to the gym, because that kind of the boxing glove aspect of our logo, that kind of resonates toward that group. And what we found out, I was like, hey, it's actually the normal everyday people who wake up really early in the morning, go to work because, there's why for the reason they wake up early. There's the why they stay up late at night. There's the why people go to school. There's the why people start their own business. And it actually evolves. And I'll tell you what, even when we speak down the road, maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, I maybe the brand actually pivots a little differently again, because with the way we're discovering what our consumers are. Mm-hmm. But I think one important thing we've learned about building this business is that, hey, you got to be open-minded. You got to be flexible, and you can't be set in how would I say, just set in stone in terms of what your demographics should be and how the brand should be represented. There should be some core values that the brand should be, which is, the brand should be about people's pursuit of the American dream, working hard for the people who are working hard. And just, adding value to the community that it's buying your coffee. So I think if we just have those three pillars and kind of add everything else to it, the company's going to be okay. But again, we're not going to go out there and say, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're going to do, because it evolves. I mean, who knew the country was going to be where it is right now 2 years ago in terms of how polarized the country has become, or how divisive people are becoming. But, we had to kind of evolve with the demographics and also the customer base who are wanting different things in, different times.
Well, it's funny because as I hear, the name Haymaker, and, on your site, you say it's about people who, and again, kind of getting the inspiration from your parents, people who make hay all day, every day. To me, those people are the backbone of the country. Those people are the backbone of the economy, of the workforce. I say it in an affectionate way. They're like the lunch pail people. They're the people, like in sales, we talk about the grinders, people who go in there each and every day making calls, pounding the pavement, doing appointments, closing deals. That to me is a haymaker, But yeah, it's true.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's those people who don't make any excuses for why their life is tough. It's those people who don't make excuses for anything. They're just going out there and just going after their dreams. And I, when we talk to people about how we're pursuing our dreams, and we don't make any excuses. And look, things become challenging. We don't win certain contracts. we don't talk about why we didn't win. We talk about how we can improve and just kind of move forward with it. And I think the people who hear us talk and how we represent the brand, I think it really resonates. And I think you're right. It's, we're selling premium specialty grade coffee here. It's not cheap coffee, but the people who are the lunch pail guys, they drink that kind of coffee. But some of these premium brands, they talk in a way that they just can't resonate. Like I don't want to go into this trendy, like this coffee shop. I don't relate to those people. But but I still want a good cup of coffee. So they're like, hey, Haymaker, sure. I can resonate with those people. Those guys work their butts off, and they like good coffee. So yeah, I think that's why it works.
See, it's kind of funny because as I was doing research for the show today, Howard Schultz was one of the first ones who identified the coffee culture that was in Italy. I think he did it back in the 70s. He was a salesman for a coffee machine company. And he talked about the experience and the culture of coffee and how strong it was in Italy. And he tried to replicate it and bring it here to the U.S., obviously, with Starbucks. And so it got me thinking, we've spoken before the show, and as we're just speaking right now, having a conversation on the Profit Express, you sell a commodity where there's 2 billion cups of coffee sold a day. That means the world embraces coffee. That means, to me, coffee is something special to a lot of people, obviously, and I'm one of them, as I start off the show with. Is there a particular culture around Haymaker Coffee?
Yeah, it's going to sound like I'm saying the same thing over again, but it's a culture of just working hard, trying to be a contributing member of the community, and just kind of communicating what the brand value is. And look, the three partners who are involved with this, we try to work as hard as our colleagues in our company who are not partners of the company. Mm-hmm. We try to set a work ethic standard that people look and say, hey, those guys work really hard. And I think, just in that self, and it sounds really simple, I think it's enough. Again, I can't be the veteran-owned coffee company because I'm not a veteran. But, we support a veteran organization, Hire Heroes USA. They mm-hmm. place 60,000 veterans, military spouses, and military personnel in the jobs. I'm one of the mentors. There's a way I can kind of tap into that community and add value to it. We supported a mental illness nonprofit where we tried to get rid of the stigma of mental illness. Mm-hmm. We donated a portion of our revenues for that. In a couple of months, we're going to donate. We're going to work with a homeless shelter to raise awareness for what their missions, what they're doing as a mission, and what they're doing to impact the community. We're going to work with those guys. That's the culture of the company. It's like, hey, look, when you have some success, go out there and try to add value, be impactful for the community. And again, I think that formula has been working. We're going to continue to lean in that. And I think we can grow a really big company by doing what we're saying right now.
All right, so now you're talking growth and growing a big company. Because at the end of the day, hey, this is the Profit Express, and it's about, in your case, moving product as one of your core initiatives. Obviously, as important as being involved in the community is, it's also about getting your coffee on the shelves in stores and into people's coffee mugs. At the end of the day, so talk to us a little bit, because I know whether there's entrepreneurs listening. And they always love to hear how other entrepreneurs are getting the name out and how they're using branding and marketing to create success for their products and services. So what's your marketing and sales model so far? What's working for you guys?
Well, let me approach it differently.
Sure.
I have a mindset that I want to be one of the biggest and most baddest coffee company out there. So first, you got to have that kind of killer instinct that, hey, this is what you're going to go out there. And I've been really I've been actually really surprised just having that mindset and just being just kind of aggressive in the way approaching that kind of way to build the company. it actually opened a lot of doors where I thought it wouldn't be able to. So first, as an
Really?
entrepreneur, if you want to grow the company, you just got to tell yourself, hey, I'm going to grow this thing to be a really big company, whether it's $100 million valuation, $500 million, or $1 billion valuation. First, you got to just convince yourself that's what you're going to do. Secondly, it's like you got to build the infrastructure around the company. So look, I spent a lot of my money, my partner's money, and also some of the investors' money that we did on our friends and family round to build the infrastructure. What does that mean? Well, I have all of the legal infrastructure set up in terms of how the corporation and all of the entities below it, so that if one of the businesses were to be successful, maybe I could sell that business off, or if we run into an issue, we can deal with a lawsuit, whatever, because the company is structured the right way. What else did I do? I have all of the machines. I have all of the partnerships. I have all of the equipment I need to go from, hey, next month, we're going to be on Target online. Guess what? We have all the infrastructure and all the partnerships set up for it to grow. Some of the problems that I see with other businesses that, these opportunities will come, whether you expect it or not, but the company is not set up to handle that opportunity. So, if you have a big boss who's like, hey, look, I'm willing to put you in 100 stores. What are you going to do? Do you have the roasting capabilities? Do you have the
Right.
boxes? Do you have all of the bags set up for that? A lot of these companies don't have that. So what we did was, hey, figure out what we're going to do if we grow at X amount. Figure out what we need. Figure out what we need to do that. And so every step of the way, we're like, hey, if our target is to do X dollars in revenue, what does that mean in terms of the bags that we have to sell, number of coffee beans that we have to sell on a per pound basis, and what is all of the things we need to do? We have all of those plans set up. So, we have a year 1 plan, we have a year 3 plan, we have a year 5 plan, and then eventually when we get really big, we have all of that plan set up. So I think it's really important to just get the infrastructure and the foundation set up first before you go out there and try to market this business.
Well, that's a very interesting answer, and it really is something I've talked a lot about on the show. Is you really address it not necessarily from a marketing technique or branding technique or strategy, but really from a mindset approach as to where you want the company going, and then kind of reverting back to infrastructure, making sure you're ready to get there with what seems like some big goals you have for yourself and for the company.
Yeah, Tim. So again, being an entrepreneur is really challenging. I wake up sometimes and say, "Why did I do this?" I left the world of finance in New York City, but if you don't have a strong mindset of where you want to be with this company, you could find plenty of reasons why you want to leave. The way I approach my business and approach my life is like, hey, I've went out there, communicated what I want to accomplish. And
Right.
I don't want to let myself down, nor I don't want to let my family or friends down. So I'm going to go out there and do whatever it takes to make it work. If that means I have to wake up 3:00 every single weekend to prepare coffee for a certain event or for a certain opportunity, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen. And that is, I think, probably the most essential thing as an entrepreneur you need to have, just that killer instinct and the mindset that you're just going to make it happen no matter what obstacles or adversity or challenges that has come forward to you. And then after that, as long as you have some business know-how, opportunities will present itself and you're going to figure out how to make it work. But you just got to be strong enough to deal with all of the challenges that are going to come ahead of you. And here's another thing. I spent 20 years in finance in New York on Wall Street. I mean, what do I know about coffee? I mean, I know it's a commodity, as you said. You mentioned the bullet points.
Sure.
I didn't know anything about coffee except the fact that there's a gap in the marketplace for a brand that resonates for everyday people like you and me.
Right.
So, a simple concept. Go out, and I did it, and they were like, all of these challenges come up. Some people said to me, "Hey, you don't know anything about coffee." Yeah, I don't, but you know what? I'm smart enough. I got a team that is smart to figure things out, and we're gonna just go ahead and do it. And we're doing it. I took a couple. Gosh, initially we had this beautiful deck set up to go talk to banks. We're talking to all these banks. They're like, "Oh, you don't know about coffee. Coffee's too competitive. Coffee's this and that and that." guess what? I'm proving these guys wrong that, hey, I'm still around. I'm about to be the official coffee company for a local sports team in Jacksonville. And it's not because I knew a lot about coffee. Hey, I know enough about coffee to make sure that it tastes good and that people want it. But I know how to build a business. I know
Right.
how to talk to people. I know how to get in the room and not be nervous to talk to a CEO about why they should have us as a sponsor for their the sports thing. It just you just have to have the ability just to go out and make sure that you get things done.
So, all right. So again, you were established in 2021, so it's basically less than a year. You just mentioned that you're having a deal with Target Online. Did I get that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
All right, so you guys are gonna be available Target Online, which is huge. Congrats on that, by the way. And you're gonna be the coffee vendor for a hockey franchise as well.
Yeah, it's called Jacksonville Icemen. We're about to put a press release out. It's a pretty big thing. It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. I'm in the state of Florida. You wouldn't expect hockey to be a really big thing down here, but it's big in Jacksonville. They have a lot of loyal fans that go to the games. They made it to the playoffs last year, and it's affiliated with the New York Rangers. And it's a big achievement because they're established coffee players in Jacksonville that has a lot more capital, has been around longer than we have. But we were able to figure out how to get in there to negotiate a deal to be the official coffee company for the hockey team. And look, it's kudos to my team to make this happen. But we got it done because it's just the mindset. Like, hey, just figure a way to get in there and once we're in the conversation, we win because we know how to talk to people.
Oh man, see, I knew I liked you and the coffee before the show. I like you better now because you're talking my language to me, people complicate business sometimes. It's, mindset and the distance between your left and right ear is the most precious real estate any of us have in business. And it's, what is our belief system? That's what you're talking about right now. So,
Yeah.
however you got in and negotiated the deal with Target Online and this ice hockey affiliate down in Jacksonville. Like you said, you're up against competition that had, deeper pockets and more experience than you, but you made it happen. And if the listener can get one thing besides the fact that it's delicious coffee, all right, that in my opinion is mindset, the mindset of an entrepreneur and how critical it is each and every day. And like you said, if I have to wake up 3 a.m. every weekend, that's something I'm going to do.
That's right, Tim. And that is, if there's anything I can bestow on your listeners and viewers here, is that just a mindset attitude. And look, I have this.
Steve. I was going to mention Steve Jobs in a minute, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, he's an inspiration to me. Elon Musk is an inspiration because they just don't have any fear in the way they pursue their dreams and their opportunities, right? Another inspiration of mine is Kobe Bryant. Just the way he dedicated his life to achieving those goals. And I look, what you said, it was profound. People sometimes overcomplicate things, and what happens when you overcomplicate things, you're going to come with a lot of reasons and doubts why you shouldn't pursue your dreams.
Right.
I'm out here telling you, hey, look, this guy who immigrated with his parents to the U.S. couldn't speak in English. I was sitting in the back of the class, and I literally learned how to speak English by watching cartoons, and I still can't speak English right now. But guess what? I finished school. I went to a really good school. I started out my university here at Jacksonville University, then eventually went to Columbia. I got my degree in physics and engineering, worked in Wall Street, worked in some really good firms. And my brother, I mentioned he's at Harvard. He did his business school, got his MBA at Kellogg, and went to University of Miami for his undergrad. I mean, we did this with no resources, and I would say, like, without not much any more ability than anyone else is out there. But the difference is that our parents instilled this work ethic and can't lose attitude and just don't take no for an answer kind of mentality in us. That right now, as grown-ups, as we pursue this coffee company, I'm not going to take a no for an answer. I'm going to find a way to make this thing work. And I think with any of your listeners, if you guys are contemplating whether you should do this or not, if you have that drive and just say, hey, look, I really feel passionate about this and I want to make this work, you can make it work. There are examples of people like me, and I haven't really done anything yet, but there are a lot of people out there who made it work just by having that kind of mentality. So, yeah, I if there's any way to take away, first is buy Haymaker Coffee, but second thing is just having that mentality that, hey, just if you just put your mind to it and figure out why you want to be passionate about this business, you can make it work.
Love it. I love it. This has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. And thank you so much. One last question before I let you go. Again, it's early in the development and the growth of Haymaker Coffee. What would be the one do-over? What was the one real lesson that you had so far? If you could have a do-over, what would it be?
Well, great question. I think things happen for a reason, and people, people learn how to adapt, pivot. I think we are here right now with whatever decisions we make. And honestly, if we went in a different direction and started out differently, maybe with a different branding, I think we would still be in the same place because, again, as we talked about, it's the mindset of just not losing, finding always a solution to the problem, and just being able to kind of solve the problem in the marketplace, which is not having a good brand that resonates to the people with that serves good coffee. There isn't really anything that I would probably change. Maybe you and I could have found each other earlier and I had this interview, maybe we would have had a little better sales. But other than that, I wouldn't really change anything. I think all of this has been a tremendous experience in terms of how to grow a company, learn about the company, and be able to pivot and kind of move depending on what obstacles you have. And, I'm sure we're going to encounter this as we continue to grow the company. But just being authentic, genuine when you talk to people about why you're doing this, and really, if you're telling people that you're adding value to the community, you better go do it. If you're telling people that, hey, don't have this mentality of like giving up, then don't show that you're giving up. Just go and make things happen. And I think that's going to be our backbone or foundation of the company as we grow this company.
Awesome. Well, listen, thanks so much for being on board the Profit Express today. How can people follow you, learn more about Haymaker, and try out some of that coffee?
Yeah, so, we have our social media. We're on Instagram, Haymaker Coffee Co. We're on Twitter, Haymaker Coffee, on Facebook. And you could just follow us on our on our website. And if people want to buy our product, we're on our website, haymakercoffeeco.com. We're on Amazon, soon to be on Target, and retail stores. But, Tim, I really appreciate having the opportunity to come to your show and speak to your viewers and listeners. Really appreciate it.
Hey, listen, my pleasure. You're speaking my language, and I know the message of Haymaker and you guys resonates with so many. So thank you for sharing. Much success.
Thank you.
And this is the Profit Express. And each and every Wednesday, be on the alert for downloads of new shows, just like the great show I just had with Eun Cho, one of the co-founders of Haymaker Coffee. And you can follow me in the show on Instagram at The Profit Express, on Twitter at Profit_Express, on the Profit Express page on Facebook and YouTube as well. And remember to go out there and keep making hay each day, every day, as you are out there to win the battle for business. Until next week.